Hi, everyone, and I welcome you all to today's exclusive podcast on how GCCs are becoming the AI talent engines of global enterprises. I'm your host, Khushi Mutkal, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you with us today. And it is my honor to welcome our distinguished guest for this session, Mr. Pramod Chaganti, Senior Vice President for Asia at Radancy. It's such a pleasure
Hi,
to have you here with me today, Pramod.
hi everyone. Yeah, pleasure to be back again. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. And before we move ahead, let me take a moment to introduce him. He is a seasoned industry leader with over 25 years of experience in HR technology, employer branding, and enterprise growth. He leads Radancy's Asia business with full P&L responsibility and is known for scaling enterprise relationships, driving customer success, and unlocking digital transformation through tech-driven recruiting solutions. His approach blends business growth with a people first mindset. And today, we are here to understand how HR tech is opening up exciting possibilities for AI innovation across recruitment, talent intelligence, and decision making. As global capability centers evolve from large scale delivery hubs into strategic innovation centers, their approach to talent, capability building, and workforce design is definitely a fundamental shift. So, this session will examine how these engineering roles, career paths, and performance expectations are changing as GCCs take on a greater ownership of global products and platforms. It will also explore how modern HR technology and data platforms are reshaping hiring, workforce planning, and internal mobility to support more agile and future ready talent ecosystems. Through these practical insights and real world perspectives, the discussion will highlight how GCCs can align talent strategies with innovation goals, enabling them to build sustainable capabilities and also remain competitive in an increasingly intelligent and digital first world. And now it's time that without further ado, let's get started. So, starting off the conversation, Pramod, from your experience, how do you think that the leading GCCs are moving away from the volume based hiring toward building deep expertise in AI, data, and platform engineering?
Yeah, I think it's a topic of the day, right? Really, in terms of how GCCs are scaling differently. Uh, and I bring two perspectives, right? One, as a person who is very close to GCC that we are growing at Radancy, and two, as a professional who is helping organizations scale, right? GCC scale. I play both hats in different circumstances. Uh, so overall, I think the thought and then the workflow is changing from cost arbitrage, purely cost arbitrage, or volume of hiring, or what can we move from, let's say, US or Europe to India, and how many engineers can we hire to what problems should we be owning, right? And what problems can we solve? What larger global problems and customer problems that can we solve? I think that's a question that GCCs have started asking, and it probably great time for them too because of AI getting where it is right now, being democratized, being much more popular than it was 2 years back. I think it's great timing overall in terms of scaling up. But I think the conversations have moved from volume, cost arbitrage to what problems can we really solve.
Rightly answered, Pramod, and definitely it defines the blueprint for the upcoming upcoming counterparts in the same. So, with that, we will move forward to the next question. That as GCCs take on a greater product and innovation ownership, how do you think that the engineering roles and career paths are evolving in practice?
Uh, so as we know, it's moving from delivery to collaboration creation, right? That's a whole game today in terms of how work is moving and how engineers are moving, right? So they are no longer about delivery, they're no longer about execution, they're no longer about releases. They probably are co-owners of products in several organizations, whether they are working with an internal product or with a customer-facing product. Uh, I think what has changed as a result is that it is technical depth is now being rewarded a lot more than just the experience and people management, right? So I think while we kept talking about it, and while we talk when we're doing EVP for a lot of these GCCs, what's actually happening on the ground is that it's not just hierarchical growth. It's also people can be individual contributors and grow tremendously uh, high in terms of product ownership, right? And I think that's what is changing right now, uh, becoming global stakeholders as well in the process. So overall, they're a lot more engaged. They are a lot more owning the product. They are owning the processes, not just in terms of workflow processes, but in terms of product development, etc. And a lot of those GCCs, we see that leadership is part of the global stakeholders, right? So I think that's how careers are moving and will move in the future as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, with this, we would like to move forward and transition into the segment that what do you think are those new skills and capabilities that are becoming essential for engineers working in GCCs today as compared to 5 years ago?
Uh, I think not much will change. I mean, obviously, the core skills will change, technologies are changing, and all that. But some of the basics probably are much more
Yeah.
strongly coming out right now. For example, system thinking, having a great business context. These were always desired in engineers, and some of the engineers who had this ability to be thinking systems, thinking with business context, having a much larger perspective than what is in front of them, always thrived. But today, I think it's becoming a much more needed, I would say, skill, or much more needed facet of a professional, right? One of obviously, which I'm not mentioning last, but probably the first one as well, is AI literacy. I think that's becoming basic, right? That's not even hygiene. That's like, if you're not AI literate in whatever field you are, not just coding, or not just being a developer, but in any field. I mean, even if I'm a P&L owner, I don't code obviously, but AI literacy is extremely important for me to be able to do my job well. So I think uh, these are these are some of the things which are now becoming essential. Uh, Communication and collaboration have always been there. Uh, Probably are have a lot more stronger right now in terms of how organizations, managers are looking at their engineers. Right, communication and collaboration skills are right on top. So all in all, I think we're talking a similar skill set with latest technologies, of course, but we're talking similar traits, similar skill sets, but probably the emphasis on that has increased quite a bit, and it's definitely becoming a need versus a want. Right? Let's say 2 years back it was a want. It would have been great if someone had it, but now I think we need people who have that ability to do system thinking, to be thinking in a bigger way, to be thinking context, business, to be thinking, having a larger picture in mind. So all those are becoming absolute necessary right now.
Rightly mentioned, Pramod. And it also signifies that with all these things becoming so important, it is also important that we know the right balance of making these things, putting it across and making those action
Yeah,
points as per what you mentioned.
yeah. I think the buzzword is know your customer, solve the problems. Right. Uh, it's a startup mentality. In other words, right. What problems are you solving versus what process are you implementing, or versus what incremental changes are you making. I think it's about solving problems right
Right, very right. So, all right. So let's move forward to the next segment where we would like to know that how are performance expectations and leadership models changing as GCCs are becoming central to the global technology strategy now?
now. It's a slightly difficult question to answer for me, uh, in a sense that there are leadership styles and there are leadership styles, right? So it's essentially about the culture, about the organization, its culture, and how they create their environment, so on and so forth. But I think overall, the theme, I think, is now moving slowly to empowerment, right? A lot of GCCs have moved, have changed themselves to be uh, more giving. empowerment and more empowering their employees, which in a sense means that innovation is possible, right? Typically, GCC till now meant uh, a very, very tightly monitored process and tightly monitored workflows, right? People were monitored very tightly to be able to deliver on those efficiencies that they always promise that they'll deliver as a cost arbitrage. I think some of that has to shed and is shedding off because with innovation, with AI taking a central role, if I mean the the tightly bound processes are probably not the way to go, right? You need to empower your people, which means that you need to trust your people, which means that you need to understand what they want, and all this is creating a much more starting to create, and some companies are way above in that journey, and some companies are probably in the middle stages, etc. But it's certainly uh, more about trust based empowerment, empowering your people, uh, being very clear with the goals, and decision making has to be faster because when you're innovating, if you're pushing innovation, you can't afford to let that innovation die in bureaucracy, right? And you can't let that die in the process. So fast decision making and all those traits are something which I think leaders are uh, are using right now, and all these are something which I think uh, leaders will have to think about a lot more as they grow, as GCCs grow
Yeah.
in the value chain.
Right, Pramod. And you clearly depicted those ways that how we can actually move forward with scaling GCC's point and also becoming central with the technologies that are coming forth. All right, this makes us move forward to the next question. That is that in what ways are HR technology and data platforms helping organizations improve their hiring quality, workforce planning, and also their internal mobility?
Uh, I think AI is making an impact everywhere, right? Be it how GCCs function or be it how HR tech functions. As someone again fortunate enough to be sitting on and wearing both the hats and knowing some bits of both sides of our
Yes.
GCC operations and how we hire in GCC, also about how we sell to GCCs, right?
Yeah.
In terms of our products that
Yes.
Radancy has. I think uh, what is very clear is that uh, uh, the conversations are moving definitely towards outcomes, right? It's no more output, it's no more quality application, it's probably higher and quality of higher, right? From a talent acquisition perspective, for example, right? That's one. So AI is playing a great role in understanding what kind of people uh, do well in a company, and then trying to identify those patterns and those behaviors in the candidates, right? That's one. Second, I think, is planning. Planning itself is becoming a very important tool. Workforce planning or in general skill gaps, planning for skill gaps, etc., is becoming a huge area where HR tech companies are investing a lot in AI to deliver those solutions to these companies, right? And a lot of companies also, mind you, are trying to move from role-based hiring to skill-based hiring, right? So I'm no more looking for, let's say, in a generic sense, I'm no more looking for a senior developer potentially. Yes, I might hire them as a senior developer, but the way I'm looking at them right now is skills, right? What skills do you bring to
Yeah.
the table? And how do I identify skills, associated skills, and how do I map those skills in the talent pool? I think a lot of work is being done in that area. Uh, Typically, from what we are seeing from our point of view, from Radiance's point of view, is that there's a lot of investment that's going in from our product as well as from what our customers are doing in screening, assessments, etc. I think that's a big area where recruiter productivity will take a jump, and discovering talent becomes much more potent with right screening and assessment tools. I think that's where a lot of investment is going as well, right? And also creating awareness in some of those areas. So I think, uh, and then your workforce planning, your talent mapping within an organization, your skill gaps, etc., will bring in a huge part in terms of internal mobility, right? I think that's another area where HR tech is kind of being a lot more successful and
Yes.
and delivering great results for organizations. So I think in every pocket, I would say, but what will become continuously important is how we'll screen candidates, how we will unearth and discover talent, and how do we manage their life cycle as an employee. Right? I think this is where HR tech, in short, will be a lot more uh, focusing on.
Right, Pramod. And these ways actually justify the way moving forward.
Right.
Yes. This makes us move forward to the next question, that where do you see most GCCs still struggling when it comes to building sustainable and future-ready talent pipelines?
Uh, it's a it's a bit of a conundrum, right? While lot of GCCs are moving forward, the scale at which GCCs move forward with future talent, future ready talent, and innovation and AI being going growing up in the value chain, the pace differs for several companies depending on what their core philosophies are. So I think overall, while there could be problem areas in every aspect, especially with competition, right? Competition amongst GCCs, competition with GCCs and product companies and services as well. I think uh, no matter how much of supply is there in a country like India, you will continue to have challenges in hiring and challenges with your talent pipeline. Right? Some of those core challenges won't change. Uh, but I think while a lot of businesses are growing in the value chain and doing more than what they've been originally started or originally thought of doing, some of them still, I think, struggle with short-term thinking. Right, short-term thinking essentially because they have to meet the numbers today and they have to meet those hiring goals now, which I think is consuming, and which by the way is not just for GCCs. Right, any organization, if you see, it takes tremendous uh, I would say struggle. It would take tremendous work, hard work to also do a lot more long-term strategic thinking in their talent acquisition processes or talent acquisition strategies, long-term strategies, etc. I think takes a lot of hard work, and everyone is kind of focusing more on short-term goals because that's where their next appraisals are. That's where their next reviews are, right? About. So I think that probably will take time to change. Uh, Another thing that will start being important for GCCs is your structured learning pathways and your growth and how do you upskill people, because that's what will drive retention, that's what will drive attraction, that's what will drive the growth.
Right, Pramod. And which makes us move forward. Right, we were talking about balance. So, how do you think the organizations balance speed of hiring with the long-term capability building in highly competitive AI and digital talent markets nowadays?
Uh, I don't know. I don't have an answer to this, honestly. Uh, the reason I don't have an answer is because I mean AI is supposed to bring that speed, right? Uh, and there are, if you remove the AI, let's say talent acquisition, uh, AI-driven talent acquisition, be it at the interaction stage or be it at screening stage or being at onboarding stage or whatever stages that you have, right? AI can make a lot of impact, right? But then it can't change a simple fact that every company has a 3 month notice period, right? So you continue to, as long as some of those basic elements are there, which is out of bounds for AI, you will continue to have challenges in terms of being constantly chasing the number, right? Because you make an offer to someone, you never know when they might not accept your offer in the future, and and then again you have to start your process all over, right? So,
Right.
I think those kind of legacy challenges will continue as long as
Yeah.
the industry behaves and works in a certain way, right? So I think that's where, to your previous question as well, a lot of companies are so focused on short-term thinking because those are the real challenges, right? Which AI won't solve. That's for humans to solve, not for AI, right? Uh, but in terms of long-term capability building, I think you will also see that a lot of companies today are creating roles who are removed from the immediate term, short-term challenges, right, or objectives. Uh, for example, there are HR tech roles, right, in terms of I'm talking HR tech specifically right here. There are HR tech roles in organizations where the job is to look at long-term system building, right, ecosystem creation. They are removed from the day-to-day challenges, right? So I think the one way to balance probably is to identify those areas and create roles which are not then responsible or accountable for short-term outcomes, right? So then you will be able to separate it and then have that potentially balance your long-term capability building, be it in your organizational build uh, growth, or be it you looking for the organization looking for new business opportunities within the GCCs, or could be creating solutions for problems proactively that the global product has. So some of those long-term capability building happens when there is a very clear demarcation of roles, in my opinion. Again, this
Yeah.
is someone who is coming from someone who's in the process of building a GCC, but
Yeah.
also is on the other side, right? So I think, uh, which is why some of the opinions might not be necessarily what people who are actually building GCCs in a deep way might be thinking. So that's where probably you have to pardon me for having a slightly, if not off view, slightly different view from what others might have.
Rightly mentioned. And definitely the point that you said, that these ways wherein we can see that how the speed of hiring is also adapting with these highly competitive AI advances, that actually depicts how we can actually, predict the way moving forward from here. So now, lastly, looking ahead, what do you think will differentiate GCCs that succeed as global innovation hubs from those that still remain delivery-focused centers?
Uh, I think successful GCCs will own end-to-end products platforms, right? They are not part of a process. They are the owner of everything,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They will Successful GCCs who are growing up the value chain. You see them doing already, several of them doing great work and continue to do great work, and which will determine the value chain as well for them as how deep are they investing in technology, how deep are they investing in the leadership. At the end of the day, if your leadership at GCC level in various category departments or various functions is strong and is able to push through a lot of those advancements and push them push the GCC through up the value chain, I think it will have a greater impact. So your leadership has to be very, very strong. I think it's no more about, as I said in the beginning, right? As one of the first few statements, it's not about monitoring and making people work hard and making people work well. It's about how you empower them and how you kind of create those opportunities, right? And that's where leadership and technical expertise, companies which are investing deep in that will come out in a big way. Uh, Again, cost arbitrage will continue probably to be a factor in all the GCCs, but lot of successful GCCs. When I say successful, I'm only measuring how where they are in terms of the value chain. I think you would see that companies which are slightly higher on the value chain are talking about business outcomes, are not talking about I have reduced something X, or we've added Y efficiency. They are talking about impacting business outcomes. I think that's where, if you go ownership of end-to-end products or platforms, or the entire business ownership, leadership rather, and technical expertise, all of this will kind of bring bring forth that mindset, right? That's what will differentiate rather companies which will grow as innovation hubs to companies which will remain delivery focused, and in a way focus on innovation to the extent of building efficiency only.
Right, Pramod. And these have been some amazing insights, some very innovative top points, and at this has brought us to the end of this enlightening conversation. But before we wrap up, let's do a quick inner word segment. There will be some short questions to hear your instinctive thoughts, and you can let me know the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about it.
Yeah, what if I don't get anything in my mind? Shall I? Oh,
Then you can, of course, tell me the second thing that comes to you.
yeah.
All right. So the first one is that one capability that you think every GCC must double down on in the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh, again, difficult. Not one, perhaps several, but in my head, I think I would say uh, business context. It's not a capability as in a capability, but it's mindset, right? I think that's what I would probably say.
Right. So moving forward, the next one is that AI hiring built internally or buy from the market. What do you think?
Buy it from the market, unless you are able to invest substantially great resources and money and time in building, maintaining, learning, and upgrading. There are companies which do it for you. So I I wouldn't say why. I wouldn't know why a company would invest in their own internal, if it's especially if it's not the core
Yeah.
of what they do, right? If it's not the core of what they are, I think by all means.
Right. So the next one is one skill that most engineers underestimate in an AI first GCC. What's in that in your
Yeah,
opinion?
yeah. I'll probably go with what I said with capability, right? I mean, I don't know if the answer there was right or not, but here it is definitely yes. I think engineers will be AI literate. The future generation will be AI literate. Future generation probably not don't even need to learn coding. Have they might need to have different skill sets to be able to evaluate that code and to be able to give right prompts and so on and so forth to be able to validate it. But I think beyond all this, I would say uh, build business context,
Yeah.
understand business. That's my one word, right? Business context. Business is my one word, because at the end of the day, as an engineer, one is expected to make an impact there, and they need to know what is it that they can make an impact on, which means they need to understand the problems and solve those problems, which means they need to have business context. I think that will again continue to separate out good engineers with great engineers.
Right. And the next one is the what do you think is the biggest myth about GCC talent today?
GCC talent
Today.
today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, no, I don't know. I don't know what the myth is, honestly. What I mean, I don't know. It will be great disservice to say something which is a myth for the talent, but I would say in general for GCCs, I think to paint a broader generic brush that all GCCs are now growing up in value chain, I think is a myth. There are there are so many GCCs still in the cost arbitrage mode, right? They're still in cost saving, still in fixing processes, efficiency, and some of those. So I think uh, the AI is the headline, but it doesn't apply for. It's not true for several GCCs.
Right. And finally, what's that one message that you'd like every young technologist listening today to take away?
Uh, I mean, I think I've already said this, right? I think uh, some of the things people say, and which is truth right now, which is AI, being AI literate, being able to maybe code with Claude or whatever, right? Whatever the new things are, uh, and then that's been a. I think AI is new. AI is kind of democratized now and is on the is in everyone's mind. But if you see, technology in general has been very dynamic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
skills have been evolving every year. What was great last year was never good this year, right? That was always there for IT. That was always there for tech, which will continue, which only kind of expedited a little bit more because of AI. So I think fundamentally that didn't change. Those challenges that or those dynamics still remain the same, right? That evolving technologies every month, every year. So I think in those case, in those are the things which engineers are very well by now. I think the DNA has that dynamism, hopefully. Uh, I think I'll go back to the same thing. I'll go back to have a broader view of things, have a bigger picture, know the bigger picture, and and your work will result in far more greater intent and with greater purpose. So I think uh, I would always say know the bigger picture.
Right. And that's actually the most important takeaway, from our whole conversation. And of course, we have discussed so many great key points, which are some amazing insights from your personal expertise and from your personal opinion that many of the techies can actually follow and decide their
Hopefully.
way forward. Definitely. So, Pramod, this has truly been an insightful and meaningful conversation. What stands out clearly is that as GCCs evolve into AI talent engines for global enterprises, success is no longer about scaling alone. It is about the depth, specialization, and the sustained capability building. We explored how GCCs are shifting from volume based hiring to building the deep AI, data, and platform expertise, and also how engineering roles and leadership expectations are transforming as centers take on global ownership, and also how HR technology and workforce intelligence platforms are redefining hiring, mobility, and talent strategy. So, with that, we conclude this exclusive podcast on how GCCs are becoming the AI talent engines of global enterprises. A heartfelt thank you to you, Pramod, for sharing such thoughtful insights and practical perspectives. Your views on building future ready talent ecosystems and aligning workforce strategy with innovation ambition have literally provided us a clear roadmap for organizations aspiring to lead from their GCCs.
Hopefully, it made sense. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Enjoyed as well. Pleasure. Thank you very much. Khushi.
Thanks a lot, Pramod. And this is your host, Khushi, signing off. And it was an absolute pleasure hosting this podcast session. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day ahead. Stay tuned for more such conversations from TechGig. Until next time, take care and keep innovating.
Thank you.